Isaac Newton. So today I'll be telling you about the story of Isaac Newton and why he is referred to as one of the greatest scientists who has ever lived and who has ever came across the earth. And today's story about Isaac Newton, I'll be explaining on how he was able to discover things like gravity and how he was able to be deemed as a great scientist because some things like calculus were all discovered also by him, although they were also being contended by other people who claimed that they discovered calculus. So I'll be telling you on his life journey and how his journey of life was and how it began from a small baby. People say that if it wasn't for Isaac Newton, this modern world we have today, like the transport system and also how games like baseball are played, it was all help from Isaac Newton because Isaac Newton laid a foundation of everything which we see today. Because right now we can go to the moon, we can now go and do a lot of things like inventing cars which go a lot of speed because of calculating the speed and also calculating the type of gravitational pull which needs and also the resistance which the gravity puts on a particular object. It's all been done by and also was done by Isaac Newton. So I'll be telling you on how Isaac Newton was able to do all this thing and how he was able to become a marvelous scientist and how his career was able to end without even being married or any having any type of child. So Isaac Newton's story started in the year of 1742, where he was born in England. And at that time, Isaac Newton, the father had died 3 months before he was born. So he was born without, he didn't have a father where he would have a father figure who will raise him. So Isaac Newton, when he was born, one thing about him being born, he was born prematurely. So his fate was just started from a small child where he will be able to fight for his fate and also fight for his destiny because all the forces on the earth were like against Sir Isaac Newton. And at that time, premature babies, the chances of survival at that during that period of time was very minimal, leave alone the chances of survival for any premature baby. Nowadays, anybody can take the baby to a incubator where the baby can get sufficient nutrients and also can get some care. But during that time of 1742, there were no equipments to help such babies and people. The body size of Sir Isaac Newton, which he was born with, was a body size where a person could fit him inside a jug, a typical jug. So you can just imagine the size of Sir Isaac Newton. So Isaac Newton, after being born at the age of 3 years, the mother got remarried to another father, which was his stepfather. And at that time, after remarrying to another man, the mother went away with that man and left Sir Isaac Newton with the grandmother. So the grandmother was the one who took care of Isaac Newton, who was feeding him, taking care, and also going through all the basic life principles. The grandmother was the person who was instilling them to Isaac Newton. So later on in the years, Isaac Newton he grew resentment towards the mother and also the stepfather for going and leaving him alone with the particular grandmother. And this made even Isaac Newton have memories and also have visions of him trying to kill his parents and also trying to eliminate them by burning them inside a house. So these are the things which Isaac Newton went through during his period in his early childhood. So when he was 12 years old, he was learning. He went to a particular school where he was learning grammar in England. And even this school where he was learning grammar, there are some signs which were made on the desk by him, which are even visible today. This school keeps it as an artifact. It says that here is where Sir Isaac Newton was able to sign, and this is like a museum, this school for him. And remember that time is 1742. So at the age of 12 years is when he was able to learn grammar. He was taken to a grammar school. And later on is when at that 12 years, his stepfather passed away. And after passing away, the mother had to come back to Sir Isaac Newton, and the mother was able to take care of him. And now the mother wanted to take Isaac Newton to further schools and also where he could further his career. But before that, the mother of Isaac Newton wanted to remove Isaac Newton from school so that he can be able to be a farmer. All in all, Isaac Newton was came from a poor background where the father was just he wasn't a noble man, but he was just a typical father. He couldn't afford even some school fees, but he was able to be a bright boy and also be a good learner and a quick learner. So Isaac Newton was able to, after the mother wanted to remove Isaac Newton from his school, his studies, one of the teachers approached the mother and told the mother of Isaac Newton that the boy you have here is a brilliant boy, and it will be the best of interest for him to continue with his studies because it will help him a lot. And I've seen a particular career inside this boy. So the mother agreed with what the teacher said about Isaac Newton, and the mother was able to enroll and also make Isaac Newton continue with his studies with a dream of Isaac Newton will be enrolled in the Cambridge University. So in the Cambridge, after Isaac Newton was able to study successfully and he was able to be enrolled in the Cambridge University, and he was a good learner. And it's when now in the Cambridge University he was able to pursue his degree. He was able to pursue also his PhD, and he was a brilliant boy. At the age of 23, he was able to graduate with his PhD. So you can just imagine, age of 23, a person is able to graduate with his PhD and is able to finish his career at just the age of 23. So at this, in the years of 20s, is where he was able to discover gravity. So you can just imagine a person discovering the biggest thing, which is in the earth, at the age of just 20 years old. So you can just imagine the brain power of this person which he had. So at the age of mid 20s over there to 30, he was able to discover a lot of things. And one of the things which he discovered and also rolled out his discovery and also his passion even more was, at that time, remember, Isaac Newton was learning philosophy. He was just a particular philosopher because at that time people were believing in people like Aristotle, people like Plato, people like Socrates. These were the people which the England people were looking after too, and these were the people which also brought knowledge to England. But Isaac Newton said that he loves all of them, but he wants to look for the truth. That's now what the burning fire, which led him to discover all of these things. Although the knowledge was already there from people like Aristotle, Socrates, but Isaac Newton wanted to discover his own truth. So one of the things which he discovered is he was able to discover that a light is made out of the seven colors of the rainbow. And this was made known to him by when he had a prism, and that prism, he shed light in the prism, and that prism was able to cast out seven different colors of the rainbow. And that's when he was able to discover that all this light we see, the white light, is made up of seven colors. Unlike the belief which they had, they were believing that the light is made up by two different colors, black and white, which are collided to make all these types of colors in the world, and also the light colors. So, but for and this invention and also this theory of black and white was also brought about by Aristotle. But now Isaac Newton now was able to rediscover it and was able to find out the truth of the light being able to be found out in seven different colors. So mainly also people depict Isaac Newton to be a philosopher who was a deep philosopher, which was deeply enrooted in physicians and also mathematicians. He was a philosopher who was a mathematician and also a physician. So later on, he was able now to discover some things like gravity. I'll be telling you the story of how he was able to discover gravity. But at first, one thing of Isaac Newton was somehow crazy because some of the things which he did, he one day even tried to pierce his eyes to see if the eyes will change the perception of the colors which he sees. maybe he thought that the colors were all were the perspective of the eye. So he tried to put a needle inside his eye to see if the colors will be able to change. These are the some of the things which crazy Sir Isaac Newton was willing to go through to discover things on inside the planet. So the greatest and also the most famous story which you have heard also about is when Isaac Newton was sitting on a under an apple tree, and an apple tree was able to fall and also bump on his head, and falling, he was able to ask himself some questions. Why didn't the apple remain on the above on the air, and why didn't the apple go up? And this is when he was able to now to discover that there is a particular pull which pulls in inside the earth, where it makes everything to fall down, and this is can be simply explained by the gravitational force. He was able to now explore and also ask himself more questions, which led for him to discover that even the moon is able to be situated in its stationary positions because of its gravitational force, because of the earth which is pulling it. That's why the moon stays on a particular orbit around the earth. And this helped him and also opened his mind up, and he tried to do some calculations, but at that time the evolution and also the complex of mathematics was not so complex during that time. So, but he had to make some calculations where he will be able to calculate the type of pull and also how the moon stays on a particular type of orbit, which led him to invent mathematics called calculus. And at that time, Isaac Newton was very secretive with his things. He wasn't a person who will discover things and tell it out to other people. He was very secretive, and this almost cost him later on in the years, where Isaac Newton, somebody came from Germany, and it was 20 years after discovering all of this. Somebody came, and so you can imagine Isaac Newton kept this as a secret for more than 20 years. Somebody came and said that he discovered gravity, and discovering gravity, not gravity, discovered calculus. And Isaac Newton said, I discovered calculus 20 years ago, even before you, and I have the evidence over here. So they had to argue a lot and also see who was able to discover calculus first. But through Isaac Newton influence, he was able to convince that council that it was him, and he was the first original member to discover calculus. But later on, the people agreed that both of them discovered calculus, but it was very independently, because this person didn't know what Isaac Newton had discovered, but everyone had discovered calculus, so they put it to all of them. But the council had sided with Isaac Newton at first. So later on in the years is when now Isaac Newton was able to write a particular book, where this book was the principles of mathematics, and was able now to write some of his greatest inventions and theories of the of gravity and also force and action and reaction. Every action is equals to an opposite reaction. So this is a book where he wrote his greatest minds and also inventions on this book called Principia of Mathematics. And you can just check it out on the internet. It's a nice book where it has also its calculus and many calculations according to gravity. It's all written by his own handwriting. And one of the things which people don't know, that Isaac Newton was not only did he write about things like calculus and also gravitational force. One thing which was a talent to Isaac Newton, he very much accredited the Bible for his inventions. It said that without the Bible, it wouldn't the some of these inventions wouldn't be there, because it's all surrounded inside the Bible. Because he was also a religious person, where he was able to write a lot of texts about religion, and also he wrote a lot of texts about the apocalypse, which will happen, the end of the world, where Jesus will be able to come back. And also he wrote about things about the Bible, the principles. And one thing he didn't believe in about the Bible was the Trinity. He referred the Trinity to be so different, but he was very religious, and he produced a manuscript of talks about religion, about just the Bible. And this is one thing he said, that the Bible, all things about life, it's all in the Bible. And he also predicted that the end of the world will be around 2060, where a lot of things like plagues and things like plagues and wars will be happening, and 2060. So we are just waiting to see if his predictions will be right. He calculated all the events of the revelations and predicted that the end of the world will be in 2060. So this is all about what Isaac Newton did. Later on, also Isaac Newton, he wasn't only all about religion and also mathematics and also physics, but he was also about alchemy. And alchemy is a particular where he tries to change some types of metals into gold. And this, by the study of alchemy, Isaac Newton was able to do some experiments where he will be able to find out if these types of metals, he can be able to change them into gold. And all alchemy is a particular type of chemistry where it is even known, even in the Harry Potter, it's been talked about. And Harry Potter is a movie which made the alchemy more famous, but it wasn't known that very much. But Harry Potter made it famous. So most of the years of Isaac Newton, he was particularly being able to trying to find out if he can be able to turn just normal metals into gold. But when he was doing these experiments, he was able to be exposed to a lot of mercury, and this was later on seen as a side effect which led him to die, because when they had looked at the body of Isaac Newton, they took a piece of strand of his hair where they were able to examine each, and they said that they saw a lot of strands of mercury and also strains of mercury in his hair. And this was one of the things which led to some toxins inside his body. So Isaac Newton also, he gave all his life into just discovering and also inventing things. And he gave it all until to a point where he was a workaholic. He used to sleep into classrooms. He wasn't able to go out and socialize with people. He was just a solitary person where he couldn't do anything except work. He was just an workaholic, even to a point where he didn't have a family. He didn't get married. So later on in the years is when the people of England were able to recognize Isaac Newton, and they were able to give him some particular roles in the government, where at that time, the people of England, there was one issue where these coins of England were being counterfeited a lot. So one of the things which Isaac Newton helped was he designed some types of coins where it would be very hard for them to be counterfeited because of its precision in mathematics. So the coins which were getting out of and also produced by Isaac Newton, they were very unique, and this also helped England. And also he did some other inventions, and also which were even they're not talked about. He helped a lot because at that time he was also in politics. So Isaac Newton, later on in the years, there was somebody who claimed that Isaac Newton, he was the one who showed Isaac Newton about gravity. And Isaac Newton was very mad about this thing. And this person was called Hooke. And Hooke, one thing about Isaac Newton, which he retaliated to Hooke, he destroyed all the patriots of Hooke. And there's no single patriot which is seen today, which is a picture of Hooke. He destroyed all types of patriots of Hooke. And Hooke was a great scientist during that time. And this is one thing which Hooke now was able to realize: if you cross Isaac Newton, you know what is up to get to you. So later on, Isaac Newton was able to be knighted by the Queen of England, and he was now able to attain the title of Sir Isaac Newton, which we know him today. Many people ask, why is he called Sir Isaac Newton? This is when he was able to be knighted by the Queen of England to be called Sir Isaac Newton. Before, his name was Isaac Newton, and Sir is a particular name which is very big in England. and it's a big a name where it is given to royals and people of high nobility. So one of the things which Isaac Newton was given at the age of 20s to 30s, he was given a particular role, which is the Lucian professor. And the Lucian professor is no other professor which was given this particular point, where the other professor which was given this particular role was the Stephen Hawking. He was the one which was given this Lucian professor. So you can just imagine the type of brilliancy and also of Stephen Hawking and also Isaac Newton. They all relate. And there are some other great scientists like Albert Einstein, which came later on in the years during the eras of 1900. So that's the story of Isaac Newton. He died in the years of 1827 over there. 1827, I'm not really sure, but he died in the years of 1827 over there. And he just died a peaceful death, didn't have any problem. So that's the story of Sir Isaac Newton. I hope you like this story, and if you liked, please just give this video a thumbs up, and please come back and watch for more. And one thing which you shouldn't forget, please subscribe to this channel so you can watch more videos, and also it will also be a great advantage for me. So thank you so much.